April 26, 2024 marked the 38th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster, a special date GSC Game World was not going to miss. Indeed, on that day we got a brand new trailer for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 called Not a Paradise. Hello Stalkers and welcome to the Anomalous Dugout. In this video we will dive as deep as we can into this new material, starting with an overview of the trailer and then dissecting every scene in more details. The trailer opens with the main character, Skiff, approaching another stalker called Richter. They are standing on what appears to be a rusty crane or metallic structure, a high vantage point which gives an impressive view of the surroundings. As the two start up a conversation, we can finally hear the Ukrainian voiceover for the very first time, and it sounds beautiful.
Скіфе?
Що ти тут робиш?
Та трохи життя живу. Поглянь, як тут.
Класно.
Ей, до краю не підходь.
The first voiced trailer from E3 2021 was in Russian, and after this language was removed from the game, all subsequent trailers were showcased in English. So it's great to have one in the original Ukrainian at last. Before moving on, we have to address the obvious. The visuals in this trailer look absolutely fantastic. I know I'm biased on this, but that's the best looking game I've ever seen. It seems like the delays were not in vain and the graphical fidelity of the first trailers has been achieved, if not surpassed. Damn, I really need to invest in a beast computer for this. The name of the trailer, Not a Paradise, is an interesting choice for a couple reasons. Taken literally, it means that the zone is not a good place to be, as indicated by its nickname of Man-Made Hell. However, as S.T.A.L.K.E.R players, we know very well that the zone can also be beautiful at times, such as showcased in this trailer. Besides, the upcoming game in itself and any information related to it are very precious for us, and I'm sure the zone will become the paradise of many when September comes. Now, about Richter, you may remember him from the Bolts and Bullets trailer. He was the one who tossed a bolt to Skiff.
Here's your bolt.
Where the hell would I need a bolt?
Take a look around.
If you had the chance to experience the demo, you would have played through this scene. Afterwards, Richter explains that you can use this bolt to bypass anomalies. The player was supposed to trigger a springboard anomaly and run through as it was recharging, then climb up the small hill and meet with Richter face to face. He seems like a friendly and helpful fellow. In the demo he gave Skiff a few medkits to deliver to stalkers in need. We assume that the demo takes place at the very beginning of the game, which could mean that Richter was actually the first stalker our protagonist met. In this new trailer they again meet, but this time much closer to the center of the zone, hinting at the possibility they may have spent quite some time together already. From their interactions it would appear they have become allies, and it is possible Richter will have a role of mentor of some sort to the player. Indeed, veteran stalkers often take newcomers under their wing to teach them the ropes and keep them company. An example of this would be Curly, clearly a hardened stalker, and Liolik, a less experienced fellow who accompanies him on his forays. Anyway, in the rest of the trailer Richter goes on about everything one may find in the zone, all while beautiful shots of various locations are showcased.
Тут ти можеш знайти все, Скіф. Друзів, ворогів, гроші, смерть, чудо. Навіть самого себе.
It is interesting to point out that in Ukrainian, Richter actually says miracles instead of a bullet. Not sure why the translation deviated so much as to change miracles to a bullet, but either way, both words fit the context and both can definitely be found in the zone. Following this, we are taken back to the starting scene, where it is made clear that the characters have yet to visit Prypiat.
Як будеш у Прип'яті, Перше коло на колесі. За мною.
Гаразд.
As he says so, Richter tossed a coin to our character, who impressively catches it. I guess he improved his reflexes from the time he missed the bolt and had to pick it up from the ground. According to people more knowledgeable than me on such topics, this is a 50 kopeyok coin, which is kinda the equivalent of 50 cents in Ukrainian currency. Before moving on to the locations and the rest of the trailer, I would like to finish with the character of Richter. Despite the exquisite animations and the beautiful Ukrainian voice acting, you may have noticed that the lip syncing does not seem to match his words. Apparently this is because the mouth movements showcased here are fitted for the English dub and not the Ukrainian one. However, I am not sure if this is due to a mistake when making the trailer, or if this means the game only has lip sync for English. Considering these are most likely done using the data captured during the recording of the lines by the voice actors, I very much doubt the latter is true, but who knows. Back to Richter himself, we notice at the very end that he has some sort of scars or burn marks on the left side of his head and down his neck. Perhaps these are the result of an unfortunate encounter with an anomaly or mutant. Either way, it makes him look kinda badass. I wonder if we will learn about how he got these in the game. Furthermore, Richter is seen using a Walkman, complete with cassette players on his belt connected to headphones. In case you don't know, such devices were used before there were MP3 players and smartphones in order to listen to music or the radio. The reason he has this ancient piece of hardware is unclear. However, it is possible this is because high-tech electronic equipment is affected by anomalies and the environment of the zone. Sure, PDAs and radios seem to work fine, but malfunctions of other, less robust technologies due to anomalous interference seems to be a thing that happens in the zone. Moreover, electronic devices were even proven to have negative effects on mutants, increasing their aggressivity. Or maybe the answer is much more simple and just that Richter enjoys classic items like this one. Another interesting item we see on his belt is some sort of tube with a red marking on top. I have to admit that I'm not sure what it is just yet. It resembles a bit the syringe used in the healing animation, though it is clearly not the exact same. Thus my best guess is that it's a flare of some sort, possibly to use in case of an emergency. If you have a better idea on what this item is, please share in the comments. Last but not least, a rusty carabiner used in climbing is also present attached to his jacket. Not sure if he will utilize it in the zone, but a cool item nonetheless. Overall, I really like the inclusion of such objects and details on the character's suit. This seems to show that every important NPC might have unique specificities on their model, which will make the world and its characters less monotonous, more believable and immersive, while also possibly giving a hint on the personalities of these people. For example, in the case of Richter, I like to think his Walkman is indicative of the fact that he likes to enjoy his time in the zone, just like in this moment where he's admiring the view. Speaking of admiring, it's time to rewind a bit and take a closer look at these scenes. Firstly, we are shown the main plaza of Prypiat, which is located at the end of the Lenin Avenue. We easily recognize famous buildings like the Policia Hotel, the Palace of Culture, and right behind it, the Ferris Wheel. This is the real-life configuration of the city, as opposed to how it was depicted in Shadow of Chernobyl, where the stadium was in this place instead. A few other changes are making this shot much closer to the real Prypiat compared to its Shadow of Chernobyl counterpart. For example, the absence of the Lenin statue at the center of the plaza, an element that existed in Shadow of Chernobyl. Well, it was broken, but still there. In reality, this monument is located in the town of Chernobyl. Next up is the school number 1, the very same building we saw in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R teaser back in 2020. This is a returning location as it could be visited in Call of Prypiat. As a side note, the school is named number 1 because there are several such schools in Prypiat, so they each had a number for designation. Probably number 1 means that this one is the oldest. Anyway, there is not much to do here except admiring this beauty. Unless... did you see that? Yep, that's a sneaky poltergeist. Following up, we go back to the Palace of Culture, where this famous mural artwork is located. Despite the presence of the building in shadow of Chernobyl, the mural was not used there properly, and instead it was proudly presented on both sides of the Agroprom Institute's main building, a visual that carried on to Clear Sky. Now it seems S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is making things right and putting the artwork where it belongs, which makes me wonder what the new Agroprom Institute will look like. Anyway, the Palace of Culture looks absolutely fantastic here, with only one detail separating it from the real place: a few sandbags up the stairs. We have to remember that this location was used by the Monolith faction as their headquarters in the city during the events of Shadow of Chernobyl, explaining the presence of such objects used as fortifications. However, the identity of those who will control this part of the zone, if any at all, has yet to be revealed in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Then we see one of the vehicle scrapyards from the zone. Considering its size, I believe it could be the Rashoka graveyard, which was once the largest concentration of radioactive trucks and helicopters in the whole zone. However, in reality the location was literally stripped clean after 2005, leaving behind a controversial mystery as to what really happened to all the scrap metal. Furthermore, the Rashoka village is located very far to the south of the zone, making it unlikely to appear in its real spot within the map of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Regardless, this is a great addition to the game, a large expansion of the garbage scrapyard, if you will. Interesting details from the scene include some flowers in the vegetation, a patrolling stalker, possibly a bandit, and an SNR-75 radar system used for fire control and tracking for Soviet surface-to-air missiles. This is the same device that was seen in Call of Prypiat at the Volkov AA complex, which in itself is inspired by a real-life anti-aircraft missile base located in the zone. Next is the shot of a pioneer camp in a wooded area. I had a hard time collecting information on this location, but according to an article I found, this pioneer camp exists in real life and is called Fairy Tale. It is located somewhere near the village of Ilovidnitsa, on the bank of the Uj River, the very same stream of water which inspired the river that goes through Limansk. The Fairy Tale camp was supposed to house some of the liquidators during the 2 years following the 1986 disaster, before being fully abandoned. I would like to add that this camp should not be confused with the Emerald campground, another pioneer camp for children located between Prypiat and Chernobyl. The Emerald camp was the one which inspired the Izumrodnoye area from Call of Prypiat. Going back to the trailer, the thing everyone noticed is this animal in the forest. Despite its head being hidden behind foliage, if we look closely there is no doubt that this is a deer, a new mutant which was presented in an issue of PC Gamer magazine a few years back. In the article we learned that the deer has armored plates growing on its body, which we can clearly see here. Moreover, the deer also possesses psychic abilities, being able to create copies of itself, request backup from other mutants, and straight up launch psi attacks at the player. Sounds like it will be a dangerous creature to deal with. Moving on, we once again find ourselves in Prypiat. This mosaic is located in the Lenin Avenue alongside many other mural artworks of the Ukrainian monumental artist Ivan Litovchenko. I guess all the other mosaics will also be present in the game. Not much to say about this except for the fact that it looks stunning. This is followed by a scene taking place in one of Prypiat's general stores. We could visit such a building in Call of Prypiat, but this one looks to be much bigger. On the panels attached to the ceiling we can read canned vegetables, vegetable juices, fruit juices, and cottage cheese. The star of the sequence has to be the Bayoon though, which is swiftly running across the room. Indeed, this is a mutated cat called Bayoon, an artwork of which was shared by GSC some time ago. By the way, I'm pretty sure this image is taken from the art book that accompanies some of the physical editions of the game. You can even see the number of the page on the top right corner. Originally, the Bayoon was supposed to appear in Shadow of Chernobyl, where it would have been able to imitate the voice of a wounded stalker in order to lure the player into a trap. The monster was cut though, so it's great to see that it will come back in Heart of Chernobyl. Then we are treated with beautiful shots of the Ferris Wheel like we've never seen before. The projected light of the setting sun along with the crows in the sky give an almost mystical dimension to the place. And for good reason. The Ferris Wheel is probably the most iconic location in Prypiat, both in real life and in the games. It is a dream of many stalkers to visit the place. Some even believe it to be the site of the legendary oasis. And now Richter and S.T.A.L.K.E.R are also thinking of going there. On the ground we can see a small creature crawling, possibly some sort of lizard. The last view with the Ferris wheel on the forefront and the Prypiat rooftops in the background is pretty much the same image I saw being used as one of the loading screens when I played the demo. All of these scenes showcase that the Ghost City will be pretty much identical to its real-life counterpart, which is, in my opinion, a good move by GSC. In fact, this was already what they were doing with the version of the town from Call of Prypiat, a map that was highly appreciated for it, and which even won a competition about the best stalker map I hosted on my community tab. It is clear that the player loves to explore locations that are one-to-one recreations of the real Chernobyl, and this time GSC is going all in on that. Lastly, we should take a look at the location where S.T.A.L.K.E.R and Richter are talking, as well as the environs. This spot has been revealed to be called Slag Heap, but we don't really know if this is the name of just the landmark or of the entire surrounding area. The place is a large hill with piles of metallic trash here and there, along with rusting towers and cranes. A bunch of red containers are scattered below, and behind Richter there is a small concrete building. Just north of the hill a road and train tracks can be seen, along with swampy puddles and vehicle wreckages. People have been speculating about Slag Heap possibly being part of a reworked and expanded garbage. Personally, I think it is too close to the power plant to be the case, but depending on how the map has changed, it could be possible. Speaking of the power plant, there it is, in all its glory, gigantic and literally blocking half of the horizon. I really like the idea that the CNPP will be standing there ominously, clearly visible from miles away, yet so difficult to reach. By the way, I estimated the distance at which the characters are standing from the main building, with the same method I used last time in my analysis of the Strider trailer. We know that the power plant is around 800 meters long and that the 50 Kopeyok coin is 23 millimeters in diameter. Assuming that S.T.A.L.K.E.R is holding the coin 50 centimeters away from his eyes, which is pretty much what I was able to measure when replicating the same gesture, We can calculate that the scene takes place approximately 1.6 kilometers or 1 mile away from the CNPP. This seems to make sense, as if you were to plot this location on a real map, we would have the buildings of the unfinished Reactor 5 right to the northeast, which is exactly the case in the trailer. In addition, this is very likely the rooftop on which the scene with the stranger from the E3 2021 trailer takes place. In general, it seems like the zone in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 will be much closer to its real-life counterpart than ever before, with existing landmarks being faithfully reproduced and placed at the right locations in the game. Indeed, in the distance we can see the unmistakable color of the Red Forest, and even further, the buildings from the city of Prypiat. This confirms what we had suspected for a long time. The ghost city will be located in its real-life spot on the northwest of the CNPP, with the Red Forest directly underneath it. Not only is this configuration more faithful to the real Chernobyl, but it is probably the best way the developers could solve the problem of Prypiat's position from the previous games. Originally, that is in Shadow of Chernobyl and Clear Sky, Prypiat was placed just south of the power plant and north of the Red Forest. However, in Call of Prypiat, the city was relocated to its real-life spot, creating a confusion which I like to call the Prypiat paradox. There were a few different ways GSC could tackle this problem in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, and I think the solution they chose is the best one. Basically, Prypiat needed to remain connected to the Red Forest from the south, but also close to the power plant. Otherwise, it would not make sense for stalkers to have to go through the city in order to reach the CNPP during the rush to the center of the zone. Another well-established landmark we can see in the distance is the Duga radar, this time when looking down south. Which reminds me, when analyzing a trailer, it is important to look for all the small details and materials that are there, but sometimes it can also be crucial to think about what is not being shown, or rather, what should be there but isn't. Take a good look. There's something clearly missing. Can you guess what it is? That's right, the brain scorcher is no more. We know it should be located in the Red Forest. We even saw it in the Strider trailer. It was right there, towering above the trees. But it's gone now. In my opinion, there can be only one explanation to this. The antennas were destroyed or disassembled during the time between the original trilogy and the new game. If we think about it, it kinda makes sense. A lot of time has passed, perhaps a decade, during which the government, with the help of either the military, the IPSF, or even the Ward and S.T.A.L.K.E.R, had a time to take control of the Brain Scorcher complex and get rid of the antennas. They appeared in the Strider trailer because it was a flashback that happened during the events of Shadow of Chernobyl, but it looks like they won't be in the final game. The disassembly of the emitters possibly happened during an event known to us as Operation Zenith, which was mentioned in the documents from the ARG. Moreover, other locations may have fallen under control of the authorities and received some cleanup, including the CNPP. In the Strider trailer, we saw that the roof of the main hall was filled with makeshift barracks and other fortifications of the Monolith faction, which are completely gone in Not a Paradise. Well, I guess we will see soon enough. For now, that is all I had to share about this new trailer. If you noticed anything else that I missed, make sure to tell me in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and good hunting, S.T.A.L.K.E.R.